Hey guys, it's Bill. I had a little bit of time, figured I would try this video out. So what we're gonna do is a little something different. I haven't done this before. I actually have video from Key City Hobby Fall event number 4, mostly, actually all class 1 here. We got 4 drivers, same gate, different trucks, different setups. Actually same gates. We're gonna do multiple here. Got about a 30-minute video, so we'll see how this goes. The drivers are in no particular order. Myself, of course. Christopher Kessler, you probably know him as Fur, Huggy Bear. You got Danny O-Boy, Fink, and you got Josh, the Boatman Owens. So they're all going to drive. I'm going to tell you a little bit about their trucks. Not much about setup, but what kind of chassis, what kind of rims, axles, electronics, things of that nature that they're running. But hey, hope you enjoy this. It's a new type. I'm not critiquing their driving. Just 4 different guys out of the comp, a bunch of different lines, seeing what works best. All right, we're gonna get started right now. Gate 1, this is my truck. Trying a new suspension setup here. So haven't driven it a ton. We're gonna come up through this V-notch and you'll get a different angle of this here in just a couple of frames. Works over a little drop off, right on up through gate 1, and then gate 2 is always tricky. It's a big kind of pointed rock, pretty significant drop off here, so we'll see what happens. I'm actually pretty high on the line, and when the front drops, the whole body kicks over, and I actually catch the side there and catch the gate. Next up is Fur. And let me tell you a little bit real quick about Fur's truck. I got to look at it here on my phone. So he's running a Corrupt Carbons Work Razor Edge TGH Ford motor mount with a Creeper T-case, Hobby Wing 1080 ESC, Holmes Crawlmaster 13 Pro. You see he makes easy work. Here you're going to get a little different view of that first gate coming up through the V-notch. He makes pretty simple work of this and actually does pretty good getting through gate 2 here. If you hear some noise, that's my daughter's goofy Chihuahua next to me shaking the shit out of one of his little rag dolls. I'm actually in Texas. Anyway, he's running trio housing, Red Cat axles, TGH wheels, Pitbull rockers, stock foams, and a Toyota Tamiya hardbody. Now he is going to winch here. I know everybody's up in arms with the new touch repo associated with the winch. Fur does a pretty good job. It's just something we have to practice out a little bit more if you want to be in the competitive field. He's going to winch the butt up. He's going to catch the driver's side rear there. He does a real nice job of just slow and steady winching through to clear this gate. Next is Josh Owens. We'll talk a little bit more about his truck a little bit later. But again, you get a different angle here of that V-notch. Does a good job side hill on both sides, straddling it and coming right up through there. You will notice Josh is running straight axles. He's still super old school, but we'll talk a little bit more about his setup in a bit. Again, does a real good job. Truck's super balanced. Does a nice job. I'm pretty sure he clears this gate just nice and slow. And again, great job. He clears the gate, and that's 1 and 2 clear. The next truck you're going to see is Daniel Fink. And again, we'll talk a little bit more. He's got a pretty long description of his truck. So he's running a Corrupt Carbon Work Razor Edge TI chassis, Ninja skid with T-case and Ford motor mount, AR 45s with super shafty brass knuckles and portal covers. Running Holmes Hobby Purple, and again he makes Purple Revolver 540. Makes super clean work of that V-notch in gate 1, and we'll finish his truck up here in just a little bit. I want to say I can't remember. I think he actually drives that straight, so great job there. All right, this is me coming back up to gate I want to say this is 4 or 5. A couple different, you'll see a couple different lines here to this gate. I don't know if I described my truck yet, I can't remember. It's only been like 2 minutes, but I got a G-Speed, TGH Ford motor mount, Hobby Wing, Axe, ESC. All right, let's talk a little bit about Josh here on that same line. Takes a little bit different line, but Josh is running a Crux Carbon Works Razor's Edge chassis, Creeper T-Case, TGH Ford motor mount, 1800 kV Holmes revolver. Again, AR-44 straight axles. And he makes pretty quick work of that line. Josh, really good driver and an exceptional boat driver. He's won a lot of championships driving boats on the water. Here you're gonna see Dan, again, take a kind of a similar line to what Josh and I took and clears that. Fur takes a little different approach. He was a little wider into his turn coming out of the previous gate. Tries to get up on the edge here and actually gets a little hairy here. Now, to Fur's defense, he did wrench his back up like seconds before he started this run. So you'll see him kind of bent over there in the comp stance. But once he rolls off that, he comes back to a line that was very similar to the 3 drivers. And these are not necessarily in the order that we drove this, but it's just the way the clips worked out. So he comes on through that gate, and you can see Nikki and Jersey in the back there keeping close tabs on him. This is gate 6, I believe 5 maybe. You're gonna see me, I'm gonna take a high line, I get up on the rock, and I take the high side. You're gonna see Fur here in just a couple minutes. He chooses to go right instead of staying left, and it gets himself in a little bit of trouble. Here's Josh. Now Josh did have some issues. He spun a C-hub and actually broke a piece of his axle, so he had to go between the previous gate and this gate and get his truck fixed. But we were at Key City Hobby. They got all your RC parts in stock, from straight axle to portals to racers to whatever you're looking for. He pretty much has it in stock there at the shop. And again, Josh gets up on that rock. He takes the high line to the right as well. And I think you'll get a little shot of the drop off there. You can see it a little bit. Makes pretty short work of that gate. And earlier I'd mentioned that Fur takes the left line here. Once he gets up on the rock, it takes him a couple seconds because he gets a little high. It was a tricky approach. This approach was not easy peasy up to this rock, but he chooses to kind of drop off the front. And what happens is his bumper in C1 tucks underneath something. He gets himself in a little bit of a jam here. He puts in the work and is after a few seconds is able to get himself free. Fur's an exceptional driver, and he's an even better metal bender, so if you need some slider or something like that, you might want to hit Fur up, see if he can knock a set out for you. There he gets it out, gets his, and you can see his front of his bumper was stuck up in there. All right, now Dan also had a little bit of issues getting up onto the rock to come through this gate. You know, he gets himself turned around there, gets a little high center, has to throw some horsepower at it. But ultimately, he is successful. Now, we're in the mix between the 22 and the 23 rules, so you see Dan hasn't done any shaping with his front bumper, just to make sure that he's compliant for the 23 rules as far as his rectangle is concerned. Doesn't matter what your opinion of the 22 versus 23 rules. I think Dan Planinsky and his group did an amazing job of sorting out the rules, and I know those guys spent a ton of time with it, so hey, hats off to you guys. But you can see Dan didn't, because that rectangle has to be full, so he hasn't done any type of bending to his front or rear bumpers at the moment. There he finally gets up on there. Might have cleared that, but he goes ahead and he's a little safe and takes the reverse, gets him a little further up on that ridge on that rock. And then he drops off here to what would be the right line, passenger side line. Gets a little hung up, but he doesn't have, he's hung up on his axle. It doesn't have the same issues that Fur did. All right, now here we're coming into a tricky gate, and Mr. Fink actually set this course. AJ reviewed it, of course, but his intent was for drivers to kind of get high up on that railroad tie and come straight at it, but none of us really did. I actually thought that I might be able to drive just straight into this gate and reverse through it and go around a different direction, but that didn't work out. And I end up winching here, and you'll see it. So a little bit about my truck. Again, it's a G-Speed chassis, TGH Ford motor mount. This is part of the Dragon series for me, so this is Dragon 1. It's trio portals with Super Shafty Osprey 2.2 wheels, bead locks, Pitbull, of course, all around. The Pitbull rockers, the 1.7. I love this tire. It's super grippy. And I'm also running the Crazy Crawler Pro inserts, which is it's sliced in a different way. They're star cut. I'm running basically 2 firms on the outside and a soft in the middle. And I pull some winch in here out of my hind parts, but I'm able to clear. I get a favorable flop there, and I unwinch, and the truck sits right down for me. Here comes Fur, and we're gonna, I think I told you all about his truck already. He chooses the same type of line. Anyway, Fur's got a Hobby Wing 1080 Holmes Crawlmaster 13 turn. He's gonna winch here as well. He's got trill housing, Red Cat axles, TGH wheels, Pitbull rockers, stock foams, and a Tamiya Toyota body. And I did talk about Fur's truck already, but hey, silence is deadly. So we're gonna let this continue. You see Fur, again, really good driver, very methodical in what he does, and he's very quickly rising in the ranks of people that are steady up on the podium. So he gets a winch here, and what he's doing is he's pressed in with the front of his body against the rock. So he's turning into it, driving to it, and then he's just going to pull his rear end over, barely missing the gate on the rear end. He doesn't dip into the gate on the driver's side. Here's Josh, and we haven't described Josh's truck yet, so let's take a minute and do that. Josh is, let's see, he's running a CCW Corrupt Carbon Works Razor's Edge chassis, Creeper T, TGH Ford motor mount, 1800 kV Holmes revolver, Mamba X, AR-44 straight axles. Again, Josh is kind of OG. These run J-Concept landmines, CI foams, and an old school Blackfoot body. You don't see a ton of these bodies. I think you're going to see more and more of them come along because it's a super good full rectangle Class 1 truck. He's in the same position the rest of us were, and he winches, does a real good job. Josh is kind of the daddy, if you will, the father of the super winch. And what you're going to see is his slips just a hair here as he's trying to wiggle his front end through, and he needed to get that winch up, that tail end up just a higher, and he does catch that passenger side gate. But again, Josh is another one. When he's on, he's a force to be reckoned with. Super smooth driver, and you can see he's running a little short on time there. Now we're going to watch Danny Boy Fink here. He actually laid this course out, and he's going to run it the way he actually thought guys would run it in his brain. If I had it to do over again, I'd probably actually get fully up on that railroad tie, but he's going to try to side hill it, if you will, down through here. Works pretty well, but he actually at the end there kind of runs into the same situation, clips the inside passenger gate. All right, so here, this is the final gate on the same course. It's 9 and 10. Super tough little combo here, especially in Class 1, just simply the way they have the 10, the final gate set. I dropped my front end off real nice here, kind of exactly where I wanted to, and I have to stop and take a breath here, so I make myself a little nervous. And when I stop and take the breath, the truck actually settles just a hair and helps me out. And I think I finished my truck. Trio housings, 2.2 Ospreys on rockers. I actually did finish my truck. So I think the truck descriptions, with the exception of Daniel's truck, which was like 17 pages long in his description. But you see, I just get a little bad bounce. If I'd have probably goosed it there and given it a little bit, I might have come over that. But I ended up straddling, catching that passenger side gate on 10. Here's Fur again on that same gate combo. Gets a little wide in his approach. But then he walks right through this, and he's gonna do, I believe, my memory serves me. Sometimes you get my age, some of these videos start running together. He does a real good job of dropping off, gets his wheel in tight there, drives around one, and then does this kind of the same thing I did. Flops off and hits that passenger side gate. Here's Josh in his straight axle truck, and I can't remember now. We'll have to wait and watch it with him. Let's see. Same thing, gets his front down. I think he did touch that gate with his front just barely. Now here's Dan on the same series of gates, 9 and 10 on this course. Josh did clip that outside gate super close, but he did actually move it about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch with his front passenger side tire, actually not the rear. So Dan comes up to this. I thought one of us drove this clean. Maybe it was Daniel, Danny boy. I think, we'll see. I can't remember. There's a nice little, smart little reverse, same reverse, trying to get his front end over. There we go. And Dan, he does drive it clean. Look at there, I was right. Great job, great control of that truck. All right, here's gate 1 on the next course, and you know, we had a whole bunch of ideas here. None of them really worked. You're going to see Fur come off. His truck is actually going to hop opposite of what I want to say. He's the last one to go. His truck's going to hop opposite of what everybody else's truck did. Everybody else's truck balanced and kind of hopped right there. His hops left right down onto the gate. And then a nice simple transition for him up into gate 2 with the big bumper hanger there hanging off the nail. So great job, man. We were trying to get him to come off far right. He does get hung up there. All right, now Josh, at this point, Josh has had 2 repos and a couple of reverses because we got it in our head that we would just reverse through this gate and do a little pivot right into 2. So Josh is about 20 points in the hole right now. Both of us, great ideas. He also clips that gate. So great thought, because it was actually my idea. I kind of sold Josh on it. He tried it, didn't do so well. And then I was like, oh, that's just Josh, I could do it, and I fared really no better. But it's all in fun. You know, we're not driving for cash in situations like this. We're just driving for the fun of the event, and like I said, a really good group of drivers. Anytime you go into Key City, you've got to have your A game on, because anybody that walks through that door can win on any given day. Dan does a real good job here, even with his long straight front bumper right down 2, and then right up here. And here you're going to get the whole video of I didn't have the heart to put Josh's whole sequence on there, but here you're going to see mine. That black piece of culverting piping was just ridiculously slick, and it just didn't end well for me. But like I said, I kind of put the idea in Josh's head. He didn't do well with it, and I should have known better and went back to just forward. But you know, so I wasn't having a great day anyway, So I knew I was kind of off the podium, so I went ahead and stuck with it. Did get a nice bounce and roll there to get back up. And this is not fast forward. This is just regular speed. Oh, maybe this is fast forward, my fault. This little clip of my truck here is fast forward because it was just so long, but I wanted you to see the whole sequence. So this is, again, fast forward, but you get the whole sequence here. It wasn't a good choice for me. And I think, let's see, did I get back up here? Actually, I think I fall off again and I try to winch here. You know, winching myself out of a bad spot. And what it does is it hooks on that housing and pulls my truck right off the side, but I do get it back up on its wheels. And then here in just a second, you're gonna see me fall off onto the concrete, which is never a good place to be. Typically when you're at Key City, there's only a few ups back on to the actual crawling surface, and none of them are easy, and I just can't pull this line back up. So I take the repo, kind of laugh, and you know, we're all giggling at this point because, and you know, Dan's helping out telling me where to put my tires, and that didn't work. But I finally get up on it. I do clear the gate and you'll get a better look at the truck. So all three of the trucks hit right like that, and then furs went left. So I go on out into the pit, make a real sharp pivot, grab the rollover too, just because I was having an exquisite day and wanted to make sure I got all the boxes checked in the points sheet. So I get up onto two was pretty easy, and then I come down right here. Now here you're going to see the rest of Fur's run on this transition into gate 3. He gets, again, his front bumper kind of hung up there. We were trying to get him off a little further to the right, but he just couldn't grasp the concept. Gets his bumper unhooked after a little bit of time in there, and then goes right down into this little tricky V-crack. And he actually gets kind of discombobulated in here. And it's a tough little V-crack into basically a near vertical wall face. He gets turned up, and then actually gate 4, which you can see right there, kind of center camera, we're gonna have a little piece of bonus footage with Fur actually doing that gate in the manner in which I spotted for him and had him do it. And it actually turned out pretty cool. But again, if you get down this little V-crack, it's tough. You can get out of position real quick, and Fur has to throw a little horsepower to get himself back up on solid ground. All right, here's Josh again with the straight axles, making short work of this little V-crack there. You get a better look at it. There's enough room to get your bumper up, but you got to stay up and clear it. And like I said, Josh does a great job here. Here's Daniel. We're going to tell you a little bit more about this truck because he's got so much stuff. It's a Holmes Hobby Purple Revolver 540 Team Spec, a Furrytech Lizard ESC, shifts up and down RSGT, this and that. He's got about 40 feet of wire on that winch. He's got a Castle BEC, Super Shafty 2.2 Ospreys, V3 wheels, J-Concept landmines on a Tamiya F350. There you go, Danny boy, your truck is described. Here's mine. I get a little out of position, but I'm able to get the rockers up on top, and they do grip and pull that truck right back down up and over that rock face. So great job there with the rockers. Now here's the last gate. This is Josh with his straight axles. And he's had a really good run. He had the little break early on the first course. And then he gets himself hung up, and you can kind of see the notches in the rock there. This is an old paver or something. And what happens is he drives his pumpkin right into that first notch. He even bends over to take a look, see what he's stuck on. Careful to not touch his truck so he doesn't get a repo. Takes him a couple seconds, he works it out, and eventually here drives this gate clean. You get a real good look at that Blackfoot body there. Super great job. Here's Fur on the same gate.
They're real thin, yeah.
You're going to see him come down. Real good job here. Just a good, calm driver. Knows what he's doing behind the radio and trigger. and spends a lot of times with his trucks here. That Stinger really pointing out front here. Here comes Dan, Danny Boy, and actually drives right through this. Dan had a real good weekend across all three classes. Another smooth driver, pretty new to the hobby, but Dan's actually got himself some comp trucks and he's going to town. A little different angle here from my helmet cam, if you will, because I have to wear a helmet when I drive because I don't want to hurt myself. And again, I just drive straight through it. Now here's the bonus footage. So I told Fur, I was like, man, just back through the gate. He's like, oh no, I'm not back through the gate. So I helped him out here, spotted for him, and he actually drove this pretty perfect. You're gonna see, I'm talking to him, telling him which way to, turn his wheels. Just drive straight through it, and then the next gate, which is 5, is directly behind him. And we're just gonna turn back into it, get himself up, and we're, beautiful pivot there, beautiful reverse pivot, and just great job. So hey, shout out to these guys for describing their trucks to me, letting me put them on video, and a shout out to Key City.